what up, fight fans all around the world? Welcome to the Big Man Boxing Podcast. I am Chris the Big Man. I'm pretty sure by now you must have all seen the fights. The Zone USA Canelo versus Jacobs fight. And you already have your opinions about the fight. But if you listen to my last video, where I talked about something that many people were not talking about, which is how much impact the weight cut had on Daniel Jacobs. And that was further validated by the fact that he was willing to give away $1 million of his 10 million fight purse in order not to weigh in the day after the fight. That spoke a lot about how huge Daniel Jacobs is. That showed me that it's about time he moves up to the next weight class, the super middleweight. Because if he was willing to give away $1 million of his pay purse in order not to be worried about making weight on the second day weigh-in that normally takes place, that shows a lot. He wanted to come into the fight in tip-top Magoo shape, as I always call it. He wanted to come into the fight in his best. He wanted to come in 100%. So I can imagine Daniel Jacobs weighing about 190 pounds in that ring against Canelo. And it was good this happened because there was no excuse. There was no excuse of him trying to make weight a day after the fight, after the weigh-in. He came in his most comfortable weight. And look what still happened. Canelo still outclassed him. Canelo still beat him up. That shows you, for one, what level of fighter Canelo is, and two, how much improvement Canelo has gone throughout his career. That was, in my opinion, the most well-balanced, the most skilled Canelo Alvarez I've ever seen in a fight. He had everything. He had offense, he had defense, he had everything in the middle. I've always watched Daniel Jacobs fight, and I've always thought to myself, this guy throws his punches in a weird way. He doesn't, I don't know how to explain it. His punches don't connect clean. Maybe it's the way his hands are positioned, maybe it's the way his legs are positioned, but there's something weird off. There's something unnatural about how Daniel Jacobs lets his punches go, especially combination punching. And I knew he would struggle from close range against Canelo, because Canelo is one of the cleanest, smoothest combination puncher out there. There was no way these two guys would be in close proximity and Canelo will not get the better of Jacobs. I knew this in my heart. The only thing I thought Canelo would struggle with is long range fighting, and I was worried about that from the first round, when I saw this ankle brace on his left leg. I was worried about his mobility. I was worried about how he would struggle with movement during the fight. And one of the broadcasters said something about Canelo wanting to do some surgery or something about that issue he has on his left knee. But Canelo did all right. It was a good fight, very good fight. I've had the opportunity to watch it again and again, and my respect for the boxing skill of Canelo keeps growing. I think he was smart. I think he was smart to take the fight against Rocky Fielding. Not because Rocky Fielding is a good fighter, not necessarily that. I think Canelo wanted to have a different look of how it's like to fight to face a fighter who is significantly taller than you. Rocky Fielding happens to be the tallest fighter Canelo has stepped into the ring against. And I think it was actually just dry running or practicing strategies for the tall guys he's bound to face in the middleweight division and in the super middleweight division. There's no doubt in my mind that the only person that Canelo might struggle against right now is Dimitrios Andrade. That's the only question I have in my mind right now. But the other PBC guys, the Charlos, Jamal Charlo, that guy can't 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 have a competitive fight in the ring against Canelo. Yeah, his power, but Canelo has fought power punchers like GGG and some would say Jacobs. And his defense is so good that he doesn't get hit cleanly. Even the so-called left hook that people have been talking about as being the big punch, say Canelo could take punches. If you go watch that scenario again, you'll realize that as the punch was landing, Canelo was moving his head. It was not a case of the punch solely moving his head. Canelo rolls with punches, and that's why it's very hard for him to be hit cleanly. As you all know, where you have people appreciating the sport of sweet science, there's always haters. There's always people who try to pick something bad to comment about the fight, whether they're complaining about the zone as a whole or they're just bitter people complaining about the fight. I find it weird because a lot of people watched Errol Spence Jr. against Mikey Garcia and they appreciated that fight, but then they can't seem to get their heads around appreciating this fight, which was a far better fight than Spence struggling to knock out a smaller man, a man who was 2 weights smaller than him. How would you say you enjoyed Spence Garcia and you did not enjoy Canelo Jacobs? What I can say there is that you're a hater, and what I can say is there is that you only support fighters who fight under a certain network, the PBC, because there's no reason why you would criticize Canelo Jacobs as being a boring fight, because that was a highly technical, tactical and skilled fight. But then you turn around and say Spence versus Mikey Garcia was a great fight. No. But that's all about it. I think it's time for Jacobs to move up. Maybe, just maybe, most likely not, he might get a shot at Canelo again if he's able to lay his hands on 1 or 2 of the belts in the super midway division. But for now, I can say confidently that Canelo is the best middleweight out there. More impressive because he's new to this division. He's new to this division and he's facing guys who are significantly bigger than him. He's fighting against guys who come into the ring as cruiserweights. He's fighting against guys who come into the ring as cruiserweights, as light heavyweights. That is a big deal. That is a big deal. And he's still able to hold his own despite lack of reach, despite lack of height advantage, despite the lack of size advantage. He's still able to hold his own against these world-class fighters. That speaks a lot about how Canelo has improved. And one more thing I have to say. You see, there's always a narrative in boxing. You're led to believe that when the opponent, when one of the fighters is taller and longer and the other is shorter, you always tend to think the taller fighter will be able to keep the shorter fighter at bay with jabs and footwork. But that's what's beautiful about boxing, where there's a solution there's a counter problem where the solution to keeping a short fighter at bay is to make use of your footwork and consistent jab. The short fighter can create another problem with head movement and body movement, and that's why it's called a sweet science. Someone presents a problem to you in the ring, you provide a solution. If the person is good enough, the person is able to create another problem out of the solution you've provided. So shorter fighters should learn from this fight. They should learn that it's not always a problem facing taller, rangier fighters. You can use your short stature, your lack of size to your advantage, and make it a problem for the taller fighters. That's why I can understand why, if you look at the heavyweight division, it's a problem for Joshua against shorter fighters and taller fighters. Joshua finds it easier facing taller fighters. So, to every short fighter out there, being short statured or small sized in a division full of giants is not always the end of the world. You can make your small size work for you. And if you're a true fan of the sport of boxing, or if you're trying to learn more about boxing, the Canelo fight is a fight to watch. Go watch Canelo when he faced Erislandy Lara, and watch Canelo now. I'm 100% sure that this Canelo can dispatch easily of Erislandy Lara. If they face each other again, that shows the growth and progression he has made. But that's about it, and that's about that. We look forward to what else Canelo will bring in the future with DAZN and Golden Boy, whether in the middleweight division or in the super middleweight division. But you never know where he might end his career. Light heavyweight, we just don't know. Yeah. And for Jacobs, I think he has to move up now. He has shown me that he struggles to make the 160 middleweight mark. He has shown me. Maybe when he move up, it will be faster, it will be better. But I think it's safe to say he's outgrown this division. That's it. Click like, click subscribe, dislike, comment, anything you have to say about this fight, let me know. And if you've not watched the fight yet, I encourage you to go watch it. It's a good fight. And one of the benefits of DAZN is that even if you missed the live fight, like I did, I was working, you can shut yourself, keep yourself away from social media, keep yourself away from your phone, so that by the time you go back to watch the fight, you're watching it like live. You feel like you're watching it live because you don't know the results, you don't know how the fight will end up. That's what I did. And all the tension coming with the live fight was there for me. Hope you have a good day. Once again, this is Chris the Big Man, and you're on the Big Man Boxing Podcast. Stay blessed.